So guys, in this video we are going to see how to handle the multiple API calls in JavaScript, which means for multiple API calls we don't need to use multiple fetch. We can just use this async and await with for handling the multiple response also. For example, here I'm having a okay, yeah. So here I'm having a two REST API calls. So by calling this REST API, I will have a different response. Okay. So let me do one thing here. So I'm using generally we all know in JavaScript we can mention fetch method to get the response. So here I'm just calling this API. Yes, so one second. Yeah, so this is simple get response only. So as we know, we can use then keyword to process the response. Otherwise I can use await. So here I will use await. Await means till we are getting the response, it will wait actually. And as we all know, whenever we are using await, it is must that we should use async. So I'm using async here with I think, yeah, this is fine. So now I have created, oh sorry, now I have created async function which helps us to trigger this API call. But this will help me to done the one API call. In case if I want to have one more REST API integration or REST API trigger, then I can use one more await. But this is not the this is also fine, but there is a one more shortcut way will be there, which is called promise.all. This function is available in the JavaScript itself, promise.all. So here you need to mention the URL, whatever the promise that you want to trigger in the array format. So in the array, the first index will refer to this API call. The next one, whatever I want to do, maybe I'm using a 3 here. Okay. So the two different fetch method I'm just mentioning in the array format, which means this response will be stored in the index of 0 because of array index actually. This response will be stored in the index of 2. So here also we can go with the same thing, which is this await. Okay, so as it is await here. Now as we all know, this will give us the two responses because we are calling a two different API, right? So in order to handle this one, we need to have a two response actually here, which means here also we should have a array here, and here I will mention like response 1 comma response 2. So response 1 will store the value from this API call. Response 2 will store this API from the second response, the second API call. In case if you are having multiple API calls, you can mention it here, and you have to mention that API that object also here itself. Okay, this can be anything. Okay, now the next string is like, as we all know, generally this will hold this will not have the actual response from the server, so still we need to parse this response using the JSON method. Dot JSON actually here. Okay, so this will help us to extract the JSON, but this is also one more promise, so I need to use this await equal to this one. So this will help us to extract the response from the first API call. There is a one more response also we are having. Maybe I think this I can put +3. This is the actual response. Next one is about the REST2, which means this is second API call response. I will mention as a REST4. Okay, so this is it. So this is how we have to handle the multiple API calls if you want to integrate in a JavaScript. Okay, so it will be very easy to read as well, and it's not like that much complicated to implement as well. And one more thing, in case if you want to use post method or anything, just you can inside the fetch method you can mention as a parameter. That's it. Okay, so this is how we can just do the same thing. So I have implemented this already, so let me show you this one. So this is the actual implementation. So here the same I'm having a two fetch method. One is this one, another one is which a different parameter. So by calling this API, we will have a different response. This response will be stored in these two different variables respectively, and I am extracting the JSON from the response and printing in the console. Okay, so as it is JavaScript, I'm just compiling using the Node.js itself. So here node and then file name. As you can see here, this is the first response, which means this is the second, third, which means as you can see here, the ID 3, which is we are passing here, and the first one is like this one. There is, so the console log is getting printed here. That's it. Okay. For your understanding, maybe I'll do one more thing. I am mentioning 4 here. So let's see how it goes. So let me run one more time. So I will have a fourth user and third user. Yeah. So the first response would be fourth user. Second would be 3 as per the server request which we have triggered actually. Okay, so this is how we have to send the request to our API, and we can get this response properly in our application. Okay, fine. So whenever you want to integrate any multiple REST API calls in your JavaScript, then we can go with this method, which is very easy to implement. Thank you.